Welcome back once again to the Spruce Stomper YouTube channel. A channel where we have an enthusiastic approach at a whole variety of subjects. And at the moment, we're doing a little bit of repair work to basically the finest ATV that China has to offer. Now when I got this, it was free. It didn't work, it didn't run, and it didn't have all the pieces, but for $25, you can get every single electrical component that this machine has to offer. So that all got replaced, minus some of the big pieces. Like you get the coil, the coil, the CDI box, all that kind of goodies. New carb, that was 28 bucks. Anyways, not the point. This beast has beautiful electric start. But as you can hear, electric start, when it's not hooked up to anything, doesn't do a guy a lot of good. So when it goes, right in here is a shaft from the starter, drives this little sprocket. It is a chain drive, drives this larger sprocket, which is affixed to the crankshaft. And what goes in that crankshaft afterwards is the magneto. And on the back of the magneto here is a starter clutch. I'm calling it a starter clutch. I think that's even what they call it when you try to order parts for it. So essentially, it's just 3 spring-loaded, actually I'll show you one. Right here. Right here. So it's basically, let's think of it like a small roller bearing, essentially. And they're supposed to be spring-loaded. When the starter engages, it rotates the starter clutch, and the spring-loaded force pushes these roller bearings out into detents, essentially. And they catch, whirs the motor over, and when the motor takes over, these disengage, and the starter clutch, these starter clutch, I think sounds pretty fancy. These 3 roller bearings and their little teeny springs, they disengage, and the engine, away you go. That is how it works, to my understanding. This part didn't work. It just made a horrible noise. Okay? It sounded like someone had tossed a bag of rocks into this little quad. So I have a fix. So we're not going to get crazy technical on this, okay? You can actually buy this whole piece replacement. I can't remember what it cost, but I'm telling you, it's more than I wanted to spend. I already got 50 bucks into this thing, and let's just stop there. So you'll see there, this little spring has been mashed on itself. It's all mangled up on the end. And ideally what you do is just find a replacement, because it entirely relies on this spring's force to drive that roller bearing out when the starter is engaged. So what I'm going to do here, I'll just set that off to the side. And again, anybody says this is the wrong way, I'm not saying it's the right way. I'm just saying it is a way, and it's a free way. At the moment, it's not going to last, right? Once a spring loses its sprung, you're kind of cooked. So I'm just going to fiddle out this bit of spring on the end here, just so it's kind of a little more uniform. I'm not so worried about it being spring-like ever again, this mangled part on the end. I just want it to be, I don't know if you're going to be able to see that. I just want it to be in shape enough to fit inside this hole. Probably too dark, but there's a little hole that it's got to fit in. So I can't even see it. I'm sitting here. Oh, that's because it's on the other side. Yep, if that end fits in. So we want to give this maximum opportunity. Somebody's going to cringe, right? Like, oh, you can't fix it that way. Well, I'll tell you what. We'll see. Proof's in the pudding if she fires up. We're just going to stretch that spring right out like that. Look at all that spring tension it's got now, okay? Back to life. Then it has these little cups, or whatever you want to call it, that fits over. Put it over the good end of the spring, and the crushed, mangled end, we're going to put that inside the clutch piece. So remember when we started, the spring was this long. Now we got tons of tension. You're going to slip it. Am I doing this backwards again? It's very hard to see, and I'm trying not to lean in front of the camera. So you get it started in there like that. It started in the hole like that. We got lots of spring tension now. So get that cup in there, and do not, whatever you do, don't let it go, because at this point we don't have any spare parts. We're gonna hold this back with a screwdriver. We got all the spring tension bottled up. Of course, before I had 2 hands to do this. We're gonna grab our roller bearing, make sure it's more or less clean. I mean, we don't need any gravel in this situation. And it just slips in there. Pop your screwdriver out. Done deal. So now I've already went ahead and done the other 3, or the other 2, so we have 3 in total. But now there's lots of spring tension there. That roller bearing, she wants to pop. And before, when I took this apart, which I didn't film, because you get the idea. I mean, maybe let's just cover that real quick here. We'll just do a quick recap here, because of course anybody start from scratch. So the cover, right? The cover that's got the windings and everything in it is there. 10 millimeter bolts. I think there was, I don't know, 4 or 5 of them. You get the idea. They come off. And they're different. Most of the Chinese quads, I think the engine is pretty much the same. I don't even know what model brand this. It says 110cc. That's about as specific as the literature gets. But the cover comes off. They're all going to be about the same. You're going to have your crankshaft sticking out here. Has a nut on it. It had a 14 millimeter nut. You're going to need an impact. Zip that off. And this magneto fits on a taper. This shaft here is tapered. So what you're going to need, some guys say you don't need this item. Right here is a 3-jaw or a 2-jaw puller, but the 3-jaw was nice. This one's a little big actually. It just fit in there. This point right here on the end of the puller is going to nicely seat in the end of the crankshaft, so everything's centered, and then you get a good amount of tension on it, and then sometimes you just have to give that a bit of a tap with a hammer, or actually what works really good is just once you got some tension on it, just give that a pop like that on the end of the puller, and bang, that pops right off. And then you can get at all these guts, which brings me back to what I was saying. When I took this apart, see that spring movement, bang, bang, back and forth? Yeah, it didn't do any of that. It just basically barfed its guts out. And all you could hear when you tried to start this, when you did this, was these smashing, because there's no spring tension on them. They're just like, and then every once in a while it would catch. We're just going to do the reverse of taking it apart. So this goes on the shaft. Line the key up. Line the key up. Yep, line the key up. And, I'm sure there's a very specific torque value for that nut. And let me just reference my owner's manual. Oh, it says, it says it needs to be this tight. There we go. I'm sure that ain't going anywhere. See? That's good. That's awesome. See that? See it spinning this time? Before, it didn't do any of that. It well, it ground away. It made a horrendous noise. So I'm gonna just pop this back on. Take this out of the way. Oh, well, dang. See, I got overzealous here. There shouldn't be a bolt in this already. Anyhow, you guys get the idea. I mean, if you can't bolt the cover off, if you can't bolt the cover on the same way you took it off, then I don't know what I'm even doing. So, we'll get back to you when it's ready to start. All right, needs a little go juice. It had a fuel line that had a tendency to leak. And I don't know if you know this, but a gas engine doesn't run too good without any gas in it. I won't get too much in there because if it's still leaking, I don't want to be donating fuel at $2.05 a liter. All right, it's got a choke. It's going to need the key on. With any luck, it'll start under its own power here. Oh my God, look at, oh, the choke's still on. The key turns it off. So I wired this key. It doesn't do anything other than break a ground. All the rest of this crap doesn't work anymore. I just saved the key, but oh, how nice is that? No more cranking and cranking and cranking. It just, oh, I actually think I turned the choke on. There you have it. All right, so there you have it. It's well, it's running as good as it ever was. I did flash it up and rip a couple donuts in the driveway. The camera wasn't on, and two tires blew off the rim. So I think I'm just gonna call it a night. Thanks for watching. Hope you enjoyed, and we'll catch you on the next one.